ॐ वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं प्रपन्नपारिजाताय स्तोत्रवेत्रैकपाणये ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीतामृतदुहे नमः। We began seeing the 10th chapter of the Bhagavad Geetā. Sri Bhagavan Krishna himself starts his discourse without Arjuna asking a question. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. That's how this chapter with 42 verses started. Very lovingly, Sri Krishna says to Arjuna, Bhuya eva mahabaho shranu me paramam vacha. Bhuyaha means punaha. Listen to me again. And you are very dear to me. I tell you this with your good in mind. Hita kamyaya. And the second verse said, in order to arouse more interest in Arjuna, my truth is not known even to so many gods, that is, citizens of the heaven. They don't know where I come from, where I move, what I do. Maharshayaha na viduhu, for I am way before all of them ever came into existence. In the last class, we saw the third and a bit of fourth also. Yoma maja manadincha vetti loka maheshwaram asammudaha samartyeshu sarva papaihi pramuchyate. Look at this expression, sarva papaihi pramuchyate. That itself is such a morale booster for everybody. What is papa? What is sin? Not only the wrongs that we have done, but also the consequences of those wrongs. When we have lived selfishly, when we have hurt people, when we have done adharmic things, what is left behind may affect us any time later, and that is the other side of papa. Living in anxiety, living in fear, living in the midst of so many negativities. Though one has a lot of wealth, let's say one doesn't get sleep. Though one gets good sleep and health is good, one is mentally worried about many things. So, lack of peace of mind, lack of certain stability itself is the sign of papa. Sarva papai pramuchyate, therefore has tremendous relevance to daily life. Do we want to live with light-heartedness, facing all problems as they come, without fear, without unnecessary anxiety? Then we have to follow the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita. And it is said here, whoever knows me is freed from papa. Papa thus is a host of negativities which result from wrong things that we would have done earlier in life or in previous life too. Then we saw the fourth verse where we had, let me read that again. Acharya Shankara says, Itascha aha maheshwaraha lokana. Why is Lord Sri Krishna calling himself, I am the Supreme Lord? The reason, one more, itascha, itaha means for this reason, cha, and, or also. So we read 4 and 5 together now. Buddhirjnanamasam Kshama satyam damashamaha Sukham dukkham bhavo bhavo भयं चाभयमेव च अहिंसा समता तुष्टिः तपोदानं यशो यशः भवन्ति भावाः भूतानां मत्त एव पृथग्विधाः. In these two verses together, Lord Sri Krishna mentions something like 20 factors. 20 factors, you may call them 20 items, which you and I go through, which arise in us. Shankaracharya gives wonderful explanation for this, but quickly for now, buddhi is understanding, jnanam. Buddhi is the seat where the next word, jnanam, takes place. Buddhi therefore can be considered not only the antakarana vishesha, but also it is certain viveka, following which right understanding takes place. If we don't exercise viveka, we may take something for something else. The well-known example is, if you don't do viveka, you will take a rope for a snake. But when you do viveka, then buddhi is operating, then jnanam. This is not a snake, this is a rope. That knowledge takes place. Asammohaha, you and I experience on many occasions, we have such clarity about things, what to do and what to avoid. That is wonderful, asammoha. Whereas many other times, we are utterly confused. Even about small things, we look left and right. Asammoha, buddhi, jnana, and then you have the fourth one, kshama, forgiveness. Satyam, truthfulness, not very commonly found. Every human being expects satya from others, but every human being compromises with truthfulness when it comes to his own behavior. Damaha, shamaha. So pretty much all these are inner qualities, inner modes of the mind. One could be into falsehood, or by divine grace, one could be into truthfulness. Damaha, shamaha. As Acharya Shankara gives nice definitions, one is of that is control of sense organs and organs of action. Pancha Jnanendriyanam, Pancha Karmendriyanam cha Sanyamaha. And Shamaha is quietude of Antakarana. Sukham Dukkham Bhavo Bhavaha. Sometimes we don't even know why we experience happiness. Some other time, sorrow. Sometimes we find a great sense of I am, bhava. Sometimes we feel I'm sinking, I'm gone, abhava. Bhayam, sometimes we are afraid, some other time we are fearless. Ahimsa, well-known words. Ahimsa, non-injury. Sometimes we are so filled with non-violence, we don't even want to hurt people who have hurt us. We manage it in a better way. Without our heart having any negativity, we deal with the problem. Somebody hurts us, there are ways of handling that without necessarily having to get back, go back, or respond with violence. Whatever it is, ahimsa is a huge topic, much talked about, but less understood. Samatha, another divine quality, to be equal to all, not to be attached to anybody, not to be averse to anybody. Tushtihi, contentment. Tapaha. Sometimes all this requires divine grace, I tell you. Sometimes without even planning, we spend the day with great amount of control, order. Things are in their right place. We don't overeat, we don't overtalk, all that. Right measure. And also tapaha has the meaning, ability to concentrate well. Whatever little thing we are doing, little or big, we do it with all our focus. Tapaha, Danam, charity, Yashaha, fame, Ayashaha, being ill talked of, being talked ill of, you may say, being infamous, bad name. Bad name of English and Badnaam of Hindi have such a resemblance. So we get bad name. Bhavanti Bhava, mentioning 13 in the fourth verse and 7 in the fifth verse, we have 20 these factors rising in our bosom. And Sri Krishna says all of them rise actually as blessed by him, as made possible by him. As Pujya Swami Chinmayananji used to say, a car goes from a place to another place made possible by petrol, with diesel. Now the car may go to a hospital. The person who went by car gets down, goes and, if he is a doctor, treats a patient. What a wonderful thing. He brings health back to the patient. But the car may meet with an accident too if the driver is not careful. Now, the petrol is neither responsible for the good work that the man who went by car did, nor for negligence of another driver, because of which the car fell into a big pit. The petrol makes it possible. So here, Yashaha Ayashaha, for example, Abhayam and Bhayam, both come from God. Petrol makes the car go meet with an accident. Petrol makes the car go to some distant spot, bringing relief to somebody who is suffering in some way. Like that, God is one source of everything arising in this world, and all of that have their own law. So I went fast because Sri Shankaracharya gives really nice explanations. Buddhihi, as I call it, Viveka, Acharya says, Antakaranasya Sukshma Adi Artha Avabodhana Samarthyam. Sukshma, there are certain things which are very subtle. They are not so easy to see. But if our buddhi is in good condition, is sharp, then we are able to understand a situation. There was once a spiritual camp of Hindus only in America, and the camp was held end of December, and it was a family camp, and there were quite a good number of children also, 8-year-old, 6-year-old, and so on. So though it was a camp of Hindus, since America is majority Christian country, for the fun of it, Christmas was also celebrated. And we had one brahmachari who had completed the course in Mumbai, Sandipani Sadhanalaya, 91 to 93. His name was Roger Warren, a white man from Canada. He was so plump and, the right personality he had to become Santa Claus. So they made him Santa Claus on, I guess, December 24 or 25. And he was going around carrying chocolates, gifts, etc. He was giving to children. And all the children were so happy. And somebody on the stage, there was a function in the evening. He was expressing his happiness, one Swamiji. There were many Swamis in that camp. One Swamiji was happy and said, "This is such a wonderful time. All of us are celebrating Christmas here in this part of the world." And he complimented some people. And he was about to say, and I must say, Roger Warren became Santa Claus. Immediately, one senior Swami pulled his arm. Don't say Roger has come as Santa Claus. because all the children are believing that real Santa Claus has come. Those small children did not know that somebody is wearing this special dress. They really believed that wherever, I don't know, from heaven or where he comes from, Santa Claus has come, really. So the senior Swami pulled his arm and said, shh, don't reveal the secret. Immediately that younger Swami stopped. You see, the younger Swami was not able to see the Sukshma. Sukshma means something which is missed out by many. Luckily for him, the senior stopped him. Otherwise, if he had said, Roger has come as Santa Claus, all children, oh, they would be disappointed. That's a very small example, but in so many other cases also, your inability to see something subtle can lead to lot of troubles later. Tadvantam buddhimaniti vadanti. Acharya Shankara justifies the meaning he has given to the word buddhi, saying, don't we say somebody who is able to see through things is buddhiman, very intelligent. Therefore, buddhi means that intelligence. The second out of the 20 is jnanam. Here also, Bhagavan Bhashyakara gives quite a high plateau meaning. Jnanam atmadi padarthanam avabodha. It's not ordinary knowledge. One in a million is able to clearly see what oneself truly is, that is Atma, and is able to dismiss, negate what one is not, Anatma. Enlightened ones do it naturally, swabhavik for them. Sahaja Samadhi it is called. Even though they are moving about like anybody else, talking, eating, resting, getting up, they are into many things like everybody else. But in them, jnana has taken place. So they are able to clearly, somebody praises them, they see, well, they are praising this personality, I am not this personality. Some other day somebody insults them, they say, that is anatma. They don't know me truly. The true I is not visible. There is a humorous story about Ramana Maharshi. Maybe I said it in a previous class also. Somebody came and spent a few days in Ramana Ashram, and Ramana Maharshi did not give him much information about himself because Ramana did not encourage people to go into personal issues. He was quiet. Then that man from Kerala apparently went to Tiruvannamalai town. That was a small town those days. Today it's a very big town. He went to a lot of local people and asked them. And some local people gave him some wrong information. The man went back to Kerala and wrote a book. This Maharshi Ramana in Tiruvannamalai previously had married and had some three children, and he didn't have happiness in marriage. His wife was a bad woman, all kinds of things. And that book was published also. Then somebody in Ramanashram got a copy of that book. That man came running to Maharshi Ramana and said, see what they have written, all wrong, all false, all false. Maharshi Ramana did not say, oh, we must do something about it, ask him to stop sending. No, 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 no. Maharshi said, okay, let us put aside what that author has written. Tell me what you know about Ramana Maharshi. So, sir, Swami, we know that you were born in such and such place. At the age of 17, you got that death experience, and you did so much of tapas, and you are here, you are giving us the great wisdom. Maharshi Ramana said, what you have now said also is equally false as that Kerala man wrote. Both are false. What I really am is not either what he wrote or what you said. See, there are many such instances where Sri Ramana Maharshi completely disowned his own personality, victory or defeat, being praised or being insulted. Many people would come and praise him. He would look at them as though they are praising somebody in England or America. Some other day, somebody would come once in a while, would criticize him. Then also he would watch. There was no identification while he was very much listening, not that he was out of his mind. So, Atmadi Padarthanam Avabodha. Then comes the next one, Buddhi Jnanam Asammohaha. प्रत्युत्पन्नेषु बोद्धव्येषु विवेकपूर्विका प्रवृत्ति. Sammoha is being deluded, being confused. Asammoha is vivekapurvika pravritti, not being confused, being very clear, being prompted by some supreme intelligence. So earlier buddhi was that very capacity to do viveka. Asammoha is taken as what follows such a viveka in action. Pravritti, doing right thing at the right time. So that's how great people in the spiritual field rise to greater and greater heights. For when they are at crossroads, they know what exactly to do. Whereas immature people make one wrong decision and go down and further down. Kshama आकृष्टस्य ताडितस्य वा अविकृतचित्तता. Somebody injures you, somebody beats you, yet you keep your mind calm and then you may walk away, but you don't have vikara in your mind. Especially what is meant is hatred. What is meant is some kind of wishing the other person ill. This person should die. This person should fall and break his teeth. All that is vikara. Or about oneself. Oh, how unfortunate I am. I had to get beaten today by this man. So either self-contempt or negative thoughts about others are all vikaras. Avikrita chittata. Satyam yata drishtasya yata shrutasya cha atmanubhavasya parabuddhi sankrantaye tathaiva ucharyamana vak. Satyam uchyate. Vak. So Satyam here is such speech which tathaiva ucharyamana, which reports exactly as things happen. And Acharya Shankara here also takes it to the high level of Atmanubhava. When they have certain experience in themselves, Atmanubhava could be, as I said, on the highest level of experiences of their being Satchidananda, or Atma is a general word, one's own experiences. Someone was, let us say, at a place, it was very hot. And later they asked, was it a very hot place? For whatever reason, if this man feels tempted to say, no, 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 it was all right, then it is not Tathaiva Ucharyamana. You have distorted. You have, for some convenience, out of some fear, out of some psychological complex, or some greed, some jealousy. There are various pressures human beings go through that make them say the false. Here it is said, Yata Shrutasya Tatha Eva Ucharyamana. So if it was cold, you say it was cold. If it was hot, you say it was hot. Somewhere somebody was unkind to you. Next day your friends ask, how did that man treat you? Now you have a complex. You want to hide something. You don't want to tell the plain truth. Oh, he was good. Really? Was he good? Oh, yes, yes. He, in fact, praised me. So then, meanwhile, they figure out, because they already had got the right report from some other source. They say that this man is lying. Thus, it's easy to say, Satyam Vada, Dharmam Chara, but in human life, practically hardly anyone speaks the truth. Therefore, it is said, Satya Truthfulness is the highest of all virtues. It is the crown jewel, crest jewel of values. And that comes to you and me with divine grace. Matta eva. Sri Krishna says, from me only these arise. Similarly, then damaha and shamaha. Damaha bahya indriya upashamaha and shamaha is antakaranasya upashamaha. Upashamaha is subsiding. Like anybody else, you may also have anger rising. But if you have shama, within 2 seconds it subsides. Like anybody else, you also may have your organs of action, karmendriya, or organs of perception, jnanendriya, getting disturbed. You want to eat something, you want to hear something, you want to sit and watch TV for some more time, though it is already 11:30 p.m. Indriyas are demanding, let me see one more dance, let me see one more song. Then you may have that urge, but upashama. If you have developed dhamma, you see the time, oh, it's now time for me to sleep. And you smoothly bring your indriyas back to control. So, bahyendriya are pancha karmendriyani, pancha jnanendriyani cha. Antakarana is mana buddhi chitta ahankara. All of them through various forms of anushtana. That is why from good old times we have been having the practices of Gayatri Japa morning and evening or other forms of prayer Japa, and people underestimate it. Many people read a book on Gayatri Japa and say, I understood. And then they don't do Gayatri Japa. It is like knowing that this is a good medicine for my stomach ache, and you read information, you go to Google, and that also says, yes, that is the best medicine available for stomach ache, and then you are ready to give a lecture on it. You don't actually take the medicine, you have stomach ache. You do just the opposite. Like that, this Nama Japa, it seems to me, is highly undervalued in today's society. People don't have time to sit and do Nama Japa. And I connected it to this Shama and Dhamma. If you want Dhamma and Shama to rise in you, you want to have greater amount of self-control, keep even 10 minutes here and 10 minutes there. Leave everything else at that time and repeat your mantra. Therefore, the last class also I made a reference, I think. Did I? Not really. Last class I was yet to go. After the last class on December 25, I went to Ananda Ashrama in Kerala. There, lot of Nama Japa. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. On one hand, in a room, from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., Akhanda Mantra Japa is going on. By rotation, different people sit and do. But on the other, at times like the 5-day spiritual retreat, they called it the year-end retreat. I went there to deliver one lecture every day. Rest of the time I joined others. Oh, whole place was filled with Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram in various tunes. Various tunes. And lot of seekers were really doing it with lot of love and devotion. And the whole place has its own background. Started in 1931 by Papa Ramdas, whose life itself had gone into such bad condition. He was in terrible condition. He was unable to run his family. He was so agitated, so worried, so restless. But he held on to Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai. His life is very inspiring, almost a contemporary of Sri Ramana Maharshi. Ramana Maharshi was born in 1879, and Papa Ramdas was born in 1884. So Ramdas was 5 years younger to Ramana Maharshi, and his path was of devotion. Interestingly, Ramdas of Anandashram Kanjangad, northern tip of Kerala, did not go for Jnana Yoga. He must have read up a little bit of Gita and Upanishads, but he went for complete surrender to Ram. His name was Vittal Rao. When there was a certain awakening, he saw that there is a certain power. He did not think of Ram of Ramayana, with due respect to Ramayana, but his Ram was not Ram of Ramayana, not Sita's husband, not Dasharath's son. Therefore, in Anandashram, there is no picture or murti of Sri Ram. But it is all Ram, Ram, Ram. So when he had a certain awakening, an inner voice said to him, "You are just servant of that higher power." So he cast aside his previous name, Vittal Rao, and later he referred to himself as Ramdas, the servant of Ram. Very fascinating story, and because of his deep involvement, intense involvement, he apparently was enlightened from 1931 till 1963. So something like 32 years he ran the ashram, but before that itself, 1922 onwards, that's about 4 decades, he spread love of God. He was so cheerful, and don't imagine that he became, inactive or anything. So much of literature, so much of writing he did, and he inspired people around the world. I met so many people who said, "We are devotees of this ashram for 4 generations, 3 generations," because he had made tremendous impact. Finally, you go to people like Ramdas was one such person. You go to people in whom you see happiness, you see peace. You also get then happiness and peace. If you go to people who have money, you may also get money, you may. But then, if they don't have peace, nor will you have peace. So, coming back, Dhamma and Shama, especially Vedanta students, should know, unless you are already with such wonderful Purva Sanskaras, mere text knowledge, knowledge of shlokas and mantras, concepts and theories, etc., cannot give you peace. You must have some anushtana. If not Rama mantra, if not Gayatri mantra, if not this or that, sit for a few minutes without doing anything. For 10 to 15 minutes, just sit and watch your mind, watch your breathing, or sit in the balcony and look at a tree outside and watch your mind. If the mind doesn't see anymore the bird, mind is thinking about, will I get promotion next month? Will my relation with so and so get better? Then see, it is said self-awareness is the real source of all true change. If you don't know, if you are not aware of your mind's ways, if you are not aware of what problems are in your behavior, how can you ever change? By simply reading books, it won't happen. Therefore, just sitting quietly will give you a chance to see all the mischief that your mind is doing. Without interfering, just to notice. Just to notice. You will see how either restless or how given to pleasure seeking. You sit for 10 minutes, right after 3 or 4 minutes, the mind says, I think there is some ice cream in the fridge. And the mind says, have a little and come back and sit. Now, what you do is a different matter. But you realize, my mind has such a childish behavior. Cannot sit even for 3 minutes. It says, have ice cream, then continue your meditation. So it's not just ice cream or some other gross thing. Lots of likes and dislikes, lots of opinion, lots of beliefs, lots of unnecessary dependence on A or B, X or Y. You have developed certain emotional dependence, intellectual dependence. So, in order that you see it all, and once more, seeing it is the major factor towards elimination of foolish thinking, childish emotions, and bad behavior. So, Dhamma and Shama are two words which summarize evolved and mature behavior. Otherwise, no matter how qualified you may be a professor at a famed university, you might have guided many people in doing PhD, you go and speak in various conferences, but if you don't have Dhamma and Shama, your life is in a mess. Damaha, Shamaha, then Sukham, Dukkham. Sukha is Ahladaha, Ahlada, feeling wonderful, feeling very good. Sometimes without any comfort, you are so happy. Some other time, with so much comfort around you, you are going through some conflict. Dukkham is santapaha. Besides conflict, another is santapa, agitation. Bhavaha, udbhavaha, abhavaha, tadviparyayaha. Something rising. Or I said, I took the liberty to give another meaning. You yourself feel, I have now become somebody. That's one thought. Some other time, I am now nobody. Nobody wants me. Nobody is interested in me now. At one time, all of them used to be with me. So in family life, in corporate life, everywhere it happens. So our Acharya Shankara also doesn't explicitly say Kasya Udbhavaha, Kasya Va Abhavaha, rising of what? Subsiding of what? He doesn't mention. Bhayam is trasaha. The word trasyati in Sanskrit means getting afraid. Trasaha thus is bhayam. Abhayam is tadviparitam. And continuing the list, Shankaracharya takes ahimsa praninam apida. Don't hurt any living being. Prani here means human beings also. Praniti iti prani. Whoever breathes, whoever breathing in, breathing out. Praniti means breathes. One meaning of prani is praniti iti prani. He who breathes is a prani. Samata, samachittata, tushtihi, santoshaha, paryapta buddhi. You have a sense of, yeah, I have enough. You truly have that feeling. Many times out of sankocha, out of hesitation, we say to somebody, no, I have enough, I have enough. It's a cold night, you have gone to Rishikesh or, Kashi. Nowadays it's very cold in North India here. You go there and at dinner time, the attendant at your some guest house you are staying, he asks you, if you want, I can give you one more blanket. I can give you an electric heater. And you say, oh, no, 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 I'm okay, I'm okay, I'm okay. Afterwards, at night, 11, 12, midnight, you are trembling, you are shivering, you are shivering. So you say, so why did you say at dinner time, I don't need? At least you should have been open. A lot of people in this world don't have openness at all. Some confused behavior. So I added the adverb truly. If you truly have a sense of, I have enough, and later, suppose you were wrong and you see it was not enough, that's different. But in the example I gave, this man or this lady was not sure whether the warm clothes kept in the room were enough. But just says mechanical behavior. Mechanically, you say, oh, no, no, I have enough. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And you go away, only to suffer later. Tapaha indriya sanyama purvakam. Tapaha is starting with control of the 10 indriyas. Sharira Pidanam. Don't mistake this Pidanam as some kind of self-torture. Here Pidanam means you take up some well thought out exercises where there is some discomfort to the body. Take for example fasting. Take for example you work continuously for 3 to 4 hours on some piece of work you have taken up. That is also tapaha. Tapaha is where you swim against the current. Normally, you tend to eat more than what you need. Normally, you like to, again, every 10 minutes, you want to enjoy something. There are all these outgoing tendencies. But you control them, indriya purvakam, not just fancifully, but you have trained your indriyas. You have trained your senses. That is Pidanam. The word Pidanam should not be mistaken as troubling oneself. No, it is more in the sense of, yes, willingly and in fact happily, in fact with all understanding, you go for certain discomfort. You bear with it with the understanding. Dhanam and yashah. Dhanam yata shakti samvibhagah. All are not required to give away the same amount of wealth. Those who have more may give more. Those who have very little may give just a little. Therefore, Acharya Shankara writes, Yatha Shakti. Yashaha dharma nimitta kirtihi. He doesn't say just fame. Fame born of your dharmic conduct. That alone has deeper value. That alone lasts. Otherwise, many people become famous in this world, and after a few years, you find there's a scandal. Many people run away from the country then. They take asylum in a foreign country, or they disappear. We don't know where they went. So that yashaha is not in the right. This is not the right meaning. Ayashaha, Acharya Shankara further emphasizes what is Ayasha or Apakirti or Akirti? Adharma nimitta. Suppose you contested an election and you lost, it's okay. You wrote an exam and you failed, it's okay. You tried your best. You started a business and failed, okay. But what is not okay is in the election or in the examination or in business, you actually went into some unethical practices and you deceived people. You let down people who trusted you. Then you get akirti. And that is terrible. Sri Krishna says, I have set in motion certain laws of karma. And I set those laws in motion. And as a result of those laws, some become very well known, some others become infamous. Yashaha, ayashaha. Therefore, everything comes from me. Maybe via the rules, via the laws. He is called Karmadhyaksha and Karma Phaladhyaksha. He makes karma possible. He gives the appropriate phala. Ishvarat eva, mattaha eva literally means from me and meaning is Ishvarat. Ishvarat pratagvidaha, nanavidaha. And Bhagavan Bhashyakara is very particular. The whole thing is Swakarma Anurupena Cha. Swakarma Anurupena. So in Sanatana Dharma, this theory of karma is very deep rooted. Deep rooted, and even where you are born, what you will get in this life, what kind of spouse you get, what kind of career you will go into, what kind of place you will go and settle in. You may be born in South India, you may go settle in the North. You may be born in India, but you may settle in England or some African country. All that they say, swakarma anurupena. And the orthodoxy believes that even Varna, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra are as per karma, and that has led to a lot of consternation, lot of anger. And because the orthodoxy, if you ask saintly people, once I mentioned, there was a very saintly people, great tapasvi. I think he was born in Maharashtra, but his work was all in Karnataka. Sridhara Swami. His ashram is near Shimoga or Sagar, called Varadahalli is the village. He was terrific. He had miraculous powers and he blessed people. He was utterly simple, no selfishness. Now, when you read, I myself was shocked. I read this book about a year ago in some house, and there was a chapter on Varna Vyavastha, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. See, my own background is in my mission where we consider Varna as by qualities. We don't go by birth. But Sridhara Swami says it is by birth. I, I was very tired one night, but I said I must read this. I remember I was feeling sleepy, but with difficulty I read that article to be doubly sure that he gives that interpretation. Yes, he gives the interpretation. Now I am not defending him, nor am I finding fault with him, but a number of acharya, sadhu, swamis in the orthodox old mutts. Sridhara Swami was not bound by any Sringeri or Kanchi or Udupi or Srirangam. He was not bound by any particular ancient ashram, 800 year, 10, 1000 years old ashram. He was actually, we can call him a freelancer. He did yoga, he did dhyana, he did japa, he did lot of sadhana. In fact, he did lot of tapas at a place called Sajjangad near Satara, which is not far from Pune. So then he moved on. Probably he knew both Marathi and Kannada, and he did extensive work in Karnataka. So he also gives this rule. It becomes something hard to swallow for most intellectuals. But it is when somebody like him says, it becomes very hard to reject also. So there's a bone of contention. Therefore, if you ask orthodoxy, very nice, you have given this Purva Karmanurupam, and then Brahmanas and not just Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, how much Shoshana, how much ill treatment they did to the so called Shudras, how much discrimination that made someone like B.R. Ambedkar go to great extent condemning, and I believe towards the end of his life he left Hinduism and became a Buddhist. Therefore, in Buddhist places, Ambedkar statue also is kept. I have gone a few times to a place called Nagalok in Nagpur. It is a place, on one hand, a Buddhist place. It's a tall, golden Buddha, gold painted, walking Buddha. Next to him, there is a more than life size statue of Ambedkar. On one hand, Buddhist programs go on there. On the other, Dalits, the so-called low caste people of the country. Nagaloka is a place for them to come, make conferences, meet. I went twice there, once as a panelist for selecting some people for a program, later as a teacher. Taught Sanatan Dharma to a bunch of some 25, 30 people. So I don't want to go very long on this. I will conclude by saying, if you ask people like Sridhar Swami, "Oh, Swami, what you say is very unfair," he would say, no, no. The problem is 95% of the people who are born Brahmana are not living as Brahmins. They don't do japa, they don't do sadhana. Many of them even violate the rules of food, etc. They eat meat, they drink alcohol, and their exploitation. If they treat a so-called Shudra, I'm adding so-called because that's a contentious issue. So-called Shudra, if they ill-treat, That is not said in the scriptures. That is not said, kick the Sudra or give him stale food of yesterday, etc. It's not said. It's wrong, adharma. Therefore, we must stop that and so on. So it will be of interest to many of you to see both the views. What the revered acharyas of Sringeri, Udupi, etc. would say. They have a lot of their arguments and they are totally against any exploitation and they express sincere and deep regrets at any misuse of power. But when it comes to who is a Brahmana, who is a Kshatriya, they would say Purva Karma. Therefore, I talk about Sridhara Swami or Shankaracharyas or the Udupi's Madhvacharyas or Sriranga's GR Swamis. GR, the Vishishtadvaita Swamis. Shankaracharya, whom I am quoting here, he himself is much criticized by the Dalit movement, by a whole lot of institutions and organizations. He is depicted as very, very unfair and so on. That becomes very debatable. Pujya Swami Chinmayananji or Pujya Swami Vivekanandaji, who took a strong position that the caste is not as per birth, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. They never made a single negative statement about Shankaracharya. They never said, in fact, let me conclude with that. I was present in Siddhabari, maybe 1985 or so. Somebody asked, there is one Shankara Smriti where it is said one becomes a Brahmana by birth, not by guna karma, etc. Swamiji was very angry. I think he didn't reply same day. Next day, he was furious. If Shankara Smriti says Varna is as per Janma, that is not written by Adi Shankara. Sam Shankara later wrote. And he was furious, very angry. My Shankara would not say that. Anyway, we will not go too much into social context, though I am interested in it and sometime on the right platform, a friendly discussion can take place. But this expression, Purva Karmanurupam, or here it is called Swakarmanurupena, is both a hornet's nest leading to a lot of unpleasant debates. Also, it is to make us more responsible. We arrive at where our karmas lead. If in my life, in this life, in whatever way I have certain shortcomings, my own actions could be responsible for them. It is a matter of taking responsibility. Otherwise, somebody did some sin and I am suffering from such and such disadvantages and so on. All right, let us pause here for this morning in India or evening in the West. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.